Somewhere tonight, a person is sitting in a quiet room, waiting for someone to call, waiting for someone to show up, waiting for someone to fix what only they can fix. And my friend, I have to tell you something that took me years to understand. Nobody is coming. Not because people do not care, not because the world is cruel, but because life was never designed to be rescued. Life was designed to be built. And the moment you understand this, everything in your world begins to change. Let me tell you something most people never say out loud. We grow up believing that somewhere out there is a person, a moment, a circumstance that will finally make everything easier. We wait for the right time. We wait for the right partner. We wait for the economy to improve, for our parents to understand us, for our boss to notice us, for life itself to hand us permission to begin. And while we wait, the years move quietly, without asking permission. They do not wait for us to be ready. They simply pass. Here is what most people do not understand. The waiting itself is the trap, not the circumstances, not the bad luck, not the unfair beginning. The trap is believing that someone else holds the key to your life. I want you to think about a young man I once knew. He had talent. He had ideas. He had more potential than almost anyone in the room. But he was always waiting for a mentor to discover him, waiting for a break, waiting for someone to believe in him before he would believe in himself. Years passed. The talent did not disappear, but it never grew either. Because talent left alone in a drawer does not develop. It simply ages. Then I think of another person with far less starting advantage, fewer connections, less education, less encouragement from those around her. But she made one decision early in life that changed everything. She decided that if nobody was coming, she would become her own rescue. That decision, my friend, is the most powerful decision a human being can make. Think about it. We spend so much energy hoping someone will save us from our circumstances, when the truth is, the only person who can truly save you from your circumstances is the person staring back at you in the mirror. There is a lesson in this, a hard lesson, but a freeing one. The day you stop waiting for someone to come is the day you finally start living. Let me ask you something. How many dreams have been delayed because you were waiting for the perfect conditions? How many goals have quietly died in the back of your mind because you kept waiting for someone to give you the green light? Here is the truth nobody tells you in school. Life does not owe you a rescue team. Life owes you nothing but opportunity. And opportunity only becomes valuable when you act on it yourself. I am not saying people will not help you. Of course they will. Good people show up. Mentors appear. Friends support you. Family sometimes carries you through dark seasons. But none of that changes the deeper truth. Help is a bonus. It was never meant to be the plan. The plan has always been you. You were born with everything you need to begin. Not everything you need to finish, but everything you need to begin. And beginning is the hardest and most important step of any worthwhile journey. Let me tell you about discipline, because discipline is the bridge between waiting and becoming. Most people think discipline is about willpower. It is not. Discipline is deciding once, clearly, what kind of life you intend to build, and showing up for that decision every day, especially the days you do not feel like it. Motivation is loud, but it does not last. Discipline is quiet, but it never leaves you, as long as you choose to keep it. Here is what most people get backward. They wait to feel motivated before they take action. But it works the other way around. Action creates motivation. Movement creates momentum. The body and mind wake up once you start moving, not before. So if you are waiting to feel ready, you may wait forever. Readiness is not a feeling that arrives. Readiness is a decision you make before you feel prepared. Think about a fire. A fire does not wait until the wood feels warm before it begins to burn. The fire creates the warmth. You are the fire. Your action creates the conditions for everything else to follow. Let me tell you something about excuses, because excuses are the quiet killers of human potential. An excuse feels comfortable in the moment. It protects your ego. It lets you avoid responsibility. But every excuse you accept is a small vote against the life you say you want. You cannot build a powerful future on a foundation of excuses. The two cannot exist in the same life for long. One of them has to go. Here is a question worth sitting with tonight. If you removed every excuse from your life right now, this very moment, what would you start doing tomorrow morning? That answer, my friend, is your real assignment. Everything else has been noise. I have met people who blame their parents, their childhood, their city, their lack of money or luck. And listen, some of those things are real. Life is not always fair. Some people start in storms others never have to face. But here is the deeper truth. A difficult beginning is not a life sentence. It is simply a starting point. What you do after the unfair beginning is the part that defines you. There is a lesson in this. Comparison will destroy your motivation faster than almost anything else. The moment you start measuring your beginning against someone else's middle, you create a false story that convinces you to quit before you really start. Your race is your race. Nobody else is running it. Nobody else can finish it for you. And the moment you accept full ownership of that race, you stop competing with the world and start competing with your own potential. Let me tell you about responsibility. Because responsibility is misunderstood by most people. They think responsibility means blame. It does not. Responsibility means power. It means you hold the steering wheel of your life, even on the days the road feels impossible. The moment you give up responsibility, you give up power. And the moment you take responsibility, even for things that were not your fault, you take back control of your future. This is one of the strangest, most beautiful truths of human growth. The blame game feels good for a moment, but it leaves you powerless. Responsibility feels heavy at first, but hands you back your strength. So today, my friend, I want you to ask yourself an honest question. Are you carrying the weight of responsibility, or are you carrying the weight of blame? One builds you, the other slowly empties you. Let me tell you a story about two brothers who grew up in the same house with the same parents, the same struggles, the same lack of resources. One of them became bitter, angry at the world, always pointing outward at what life had taken from him. The other became determined, quiet, focused, always asking what he could build, despite what life had taken from him. Same house, same circumstances, two completely different lives. What was the difference? It was never the circumstances. It was the decision about what those circumstances would mean. You get to decide what your past means. You get to decide whether your story is a tragedy or a turning point. The events happen to you, yes, but the meaning you give them, that part belongs entirely to you. Here is what most people do not understand about pain. Pain is not optional in life, but suffering often is. Pain tells you something happened. Suffering is the story you keep telling yourself about what happened. You can release the story even when you cannot erase the memory. Let me tell you about loneliness, because doing it alone does not mean living without connection. It means understanding that no one can do your push-ups for you. No one can think your thoughts for you. No one can build your discipline for you. And no one can walk through your transformation in your place. You can have people who love you deeply, and still the climbing is yours alone. The growing is yours alone. The becoming is yours alone. This is not a sad truth. It is actually the most empowering truth available to any human being. Because if the climbing depends only on you, then no external failure, no rejection, no unfair circumstance can permanently stop you. Only you can stop you. Think about that for a moment. The only person with full and final authority over whether you give up is you. Let me tell you about the quiet moments that shape a life. Nobody sees the early mornings when you choose to rise before the world wakes up. Nobody sees the small decisions to keep going when quitting would have been easier and quieter. But here is the secret. Those invisible moments are the ones that build an unshakable life. The crowd only sees the results years later, but the real work happened in the silence, when nobody was watching and nobody was clapping. You do not need applause to keep going. You need purpose. Applause is temporary. Purpose is what carries you through the years when no one is paying attention. Let me tell you about purpose, because a life without purpose becomes a life of drifting. Drifting feels safe, but it slowly steals decades from people who never even notice until it is almost too late. Purpose gives your discipline a direction. Without purpose, discipline becomes exhausting. With purpose, it becomes meaningful, even on the hardest days. Here is something I want you to remember. The world will never organize itself around your comfort. It was never designed to. The world rewards movement, not waiting. It rewards the person who shows up consistently, not the person who waits for ideal conditions that may never arrive. So stop waiting for the storm to pass. Learn to build in the storm. Some of the strongest people in history built their greatest work during their hardest seasons, not after their hardest seasons ended. Let me tell you about habits, because your habits are quietly writing the story of your future right now, whether you notice or not. Every small action repeated daily becomes your identity. You do not decide your future in one dramatic moment. You decide it in 1,000 small, ordinary moments that nobody else sees. So if you want to know where you will be in 5 years, look honestly at your habits today. Not your hopes, not your wishes, your habits. They are the most accurate prediction of your future available to you. Here is the good news, and I want you to really hear this. Habits can be rebuilt at any age, in any season, after any failure. It does not matter how long you waited. It does not matter how many years you lost waiting for someone to come. Today can still be the beginning. The most dangerous lie in the world is the idea that it is too late. It is never too late to start building the discipline that creates a powerful life. It may be too late to relive the past, but it is never too late to redirect the future. Let me tell you about failure, because failure often teaches people to stop waiting for rescue. As long as life feels comfortable, people stay passive. But failure forces a person to finally take full ownership of their life. So if you have failed recently, do not waste that failure by drowning in shame. Use it. Let it become the moment you finally decided that nobody was coming and that you would have to become your own answer. There is a lesson in this. Some of the most successful people you admire were once standing exactly where you are standing now, wondering if they had what it takes. The difference is not luck. It is the decision to keep moving when everything in them wanted to stop. Let me tell you about time, because time is the only resource that never returns once it is spent. Money can be earned again. Relationships can sometimes be repaired. Opportunities can sometimes reappear in a different form. But time, once it passes, never comes back. Every day you spend waiting for someone else to fix your life is a day permanently withdrawn from your one and only life. That should not create panic. It should create urgency, the healthy kind of urgency that moves a person into action instead of anxiety. You do not need to rush recklessly, but you do need to stop pretending you have unlimited time to begin. Here is the moment you realize this. One day you will look back and understand that the years you spent waiting were the years you could have spent building. And in that moment you will either feel deep regret or deep gratitude, depending on what you choose to do starting today. I want gratitude for you. I want you to look back one day and say, I am so glad I stopped waiting. I am so glad I decided to become my own rescue. Let me speak now about courage, because doing it alone requires a kind of courage that is rarely celebrated. It is not the loud courage of standing in front of a crowd. It is the quiet courage of standing in front of yourself, admitting the truth, and choosing to act anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while the fear is still present. Anyone who tells you they built something meaningful without fear is not telling you the truth. They simply learn to act alongside their fear instead of waiting for it to disappear. Fear rarely disappears before action. It disappears because of action. Let me tell you about strength. Strength is not built in comfort. It is built in the moments you wanted to quit, but did not. It is built in the silence when no one was watching, and you still chose discipline over excuses. You are stronger than your current circumstances are telling you. You are more capable than your current doubts are allowing you to believe. The proof is not in how you feel right now. The proof will be in what you choose to do next. Let me tell you about identity. You are not who you were yesterday unless you choose to remain that person today. Every day offers you a quiet invitation to redefine who you are. Most people never accept that invitation simply because change feels uncomfortable. But you, my friend, do not have to remain the same person who waited. You can become the person who builds. The shift does not require permission. It only requires decision. Here is the deeper truth hidden underneath everything I am telling you tonight. Nobody is coming, not because you are unworthy of help, but because you were always meant to discover the strength inside yourself. The waiting was never the punishment. It was the preparation. Every challenge you have faced alone has been quietly building a kind of strength that comfort could never have built. You did not waste those years. You were forging something, even when it did not feel like progress. So if today you feel like nobody understands your struggle, nobody sees your effort, and nobody is coming to save you, I want you to take a deep breath and remember this. You were never supposed to be saved. You were supposed to rise. Let me leave you with this final thought, and I want you to carry it with you long after this moment ends. The life you dream about is not waiting somewhere out in the world for the right person to deliver it to you. It is waiting inside the decisions you make starting today, starting this hour, starting with the very next action you choose to take. Stop waiting for the call that may never come. Stop waiting for permission that nobody is required to give you. Stop waiting for conditions that may never feel perfect. Stand up, decide, move. Because the moment you finally accept that nobody is coming, you stop feeling abandoned by life and you start feeling powerful within it. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not without hope. You are simply standing at the exact moment your story changes direction, if you choose to let it. Nobody is coming, my friend, and that is not bad news. That is the beginning of your freedom, because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to build your life, you finally become free to build it yourself, with your own hands, your own discipline, your own unstoppable will. So rise today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, today. Because somewhere ahead of you is a version of your life so powerful, so meaningful, so far beyond what you currently believe is possible, that it is worth every uncomfortable step it takes to get there. No excuses, no waiting, no rescue required. Let me tell you one more thing before I let you go, because I do not want you to mistake this message for harshness. This is not about being hard on yourself. This is about being honest with yourself. And honesty, even when it stings a little, is always the doorway to growth. Being honest with yourself does not mean shaming yourself for the years you spent waiting. It means forgiving yourself for not knowing then what you know now, and then refusing to waste another single day pretending you still do not know it. You know it now. You have always known it somewhere deep inside. The dream did not die. It simply went quiet, waiting for you to stop waiting. Here is what most people never tell you about self-reliance. It is not cold. It is not isolating. It is actually one of the warmest gifts you can give the people who love you, because a person who has learned to carry themselves becomes a person who can finally help carry others. You cannot pour from a life you never built. You cannot lead a family, inspire a friend, or lift up a community from a place of helplessness. Strength multiplies. Weakness only survives. If you want to be there for the people you love, the first and most important step is becoming someone who no longer waits to be rescued. So this is not selfish. This is the foundation beneath every meaningful contribution you make to the people around you. Think about the version of you standing 5 years from this moment, looking back at tonight. What will that version of you wish you had started today? What habit, what decision, what first uncomfortable step will that future self thank you for taking right now, in this very ordinary moment that feels like nothing special, but is actually everything? That future version of you is real. They are waiting on the other side of your discipline, on the other side of your consistency, on the other side of every day you choose action over excuses. And they are counting on you right now to not let them down. Do not let them down. Let me remind you one final time of the truth this entire message has been built on. The phone is not going to ring with someone offering to fix your life. The door is not going to open with someone arriving to hand you your purpose. The break you have been waiting for has been sitting inside you the entire time, disguised as the discipline you kept postponing. Stop postponing it. There will never be a perfect Monday. There will never be a flawless new year. There will never be a moment so ideal that fear completely disappears and confidence arrives fully formed. There will only be this moment, imperfect and ordinary, asking you one simple question: will you finally begin? Say yes, not with your words, with your actions, starting today. Because here is the final truth I want you to carry out of this room and into every single day that follows. Nobody is coming. Nobody ever was. And once you truly accept that, you will stop feeling small in front of your circumstances, and you will start feeling powerful within them. You were never abandoned. You were appointed. Appointed to rise, appointed to build, appointed to become the very thing you have been waiting for your entire life. So go, build it yourself, with your own hands, your own discipline, your own unstoppable will. Just you, deciding once and for all to finally become the person your future has been waiting for.